What's up, guys, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name's Dylan Zachary, and I'm a graphic designer and music enthusiast. So today is my favorite time of the month, and that is the monthly album redesign series is back. So each month I redesign a legendary album. I go back and I look at a bunch of iconic records and I pick one and I redesign the whole album cover. Basically throw ideas at a wall and whatever sticks, I rock with it. And sometimes we come out with something cool and sometimes you don't. The whole idea is basically to, flex your mind and just do different things and get different inspirations from these iconic records. So I do records from the 60s all the way up until I've hit the 90s so far. I might even go into the 2000s, 2010s and stuff like that in a couple weeks here. I have a couple ideas in mind. We'll see how that goes. As for this week, we have a legendary record. It spawned a couple different rock operas down the line, one being like The Wall. And the record that we're talking about is The Who's Tommy. This is an iconic record. This record came out in 1969, mostly written by Pete Townsend, the guitarist of the band. So this record spawned hits like Pinball Wizard, I'm Free, and See Me Feel Me. And a couple of my personal favorites is Acid Queen and Amazing Journey into Sparks. The album is great. Like I said, it was the first rock and roll rock opera that got released, and a couple people followed in suit years to come. Highly recommend listening to it if you haven't. So this one specifically was a little bit difficult to kind of see past the legendary cover that it already has. As you can see, it has the flying birds in there, and it has some cloud effects in the background, and it has the band's faces in these little black holes right here. The whole album is based around a deaf, dumb, and blind boy by the name of Tommy. He goes through multiple journeys throughout his life and everything. So I wanted to take that idea and basically focus in on a person, get it really up close and personal with the design, and kind of just zoom in on a single person aspect, because the album, the original album, doesn't really touch base on that idea. So I wanted to take the single person and zoom in on it and just kind of blow it up and make it really psychedelic looking, almost trippy and just eerie almost, because the album has an eerie tendency behind it, especially with the Acid Queen. Yeah, so this is the record that we're doing. It's Tommy by The Who. We're sticking with The Who vibes with this monthly redesign. 2 weeks ago I did a video for their tour poster because I just announced their farewell tour, so I figured I'd go and do their most iconic record as a redesign for this monthly redesign series. And in a couple weeks from now, I have a t-shirt design that I have for their 2025 farewell. Be sure to check out my tour poster design I did for The Who. I'll link that like right here. I'll put that like right up here so you can check that out if you haven't. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment because it helps out so much. We're this close to hitting 100 subscribers. Hopefully by the time this video comes out, we will have hit 100 subscribers. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers. We're on our way there. It starts with you, and I really, really appreciate it. Let me know what you guys think of each design. It helps out so much, and I cannot wait to show you this design for this monthly redesign series because it's my personal favorite out of all the designs I've done thus far, and I think this is the 5th one, if I'm not mistaken, that I've done. I had this in my mind, and it came out exactly how I envisioned it. And when you're a designer, when you think of something and it comes to life almost identically how your brain thinks of it, it's awesome. It's a great feeling. It's an amazing feeling. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and let's get into the design, shall we? Let's do it. Okay, so here's the design. So you see me going into my folder here, and I'm pulling up this image. I got this image on Unsplash, and so it's just basically it's a random image. It seems like this person has a mask on. They got some crazy looking eyes, and they're under the water, at least it looks like from this image. And I thought this was a very mysterious and perfect image to use for the Tommy album cover, because it's really eerie looking, just like the album. Like I said, kind of distorted because of the water there. Just has this floating aspect to it. It just kind of adds to the eeriness and everything, especially with this weird mask looking face and the big eyeballs and everything. Just adds to it. I blew up the image and I inflated it just to really get that distorted, blown up face. I wanted it to almost be like it's just out of sync, almost in like a fisheye lens type of look. And then here you see me messing with different fonts here for the Tommy, because I was trying to figure out which font I like the most. I decided to use one of the songs on the album called Tommy Can You Hear Me, actual album cover, because I thought it tied the record in pretty well, and it's one of my favorite songs on the record when he just sings over and over again, Tommy Can You Hear Me? Tommy Can You Hear Me? I love that. I just love that. So I decided to add it on the front cover, and then here I'm really just messing with the different fonts here, trying to pick out the best Who font I could. I was trying to get this circle look to it, like, because the Who's logo is a target on the O with the Who there. I was trying to fit it down to kind of give it a different offset, if you will, from the actual Who font. Didn't end up working out, but I was enjoying it and I was messing with it. So yeah, so I was going back and forth trying to pick out the exact font that I wanted. I really like the Tommy Can You Hear Me thin font there. I think I used the Neo-Hoskertesk for that. And here I'm using the original album cover as reference, and I'm picking out the colors specifically specifically to give the Who Presents Tommy a little drop shadow of blue there. I decided to do the Who Presents Tommy just because it kind of touched back to the 60s in my opinion. I thought that would be like something that you would see on a really early 60s album, like a jazz record. So yeah, so here now I'm loading up Illustrator. So I wanted to grab birds here, and as you can see, I'm just pen tooling some of the birds on the album cover. I'm blowing them up just to make them a vector image, and then I'm going to drag and drop them into Photoshop and then just add the birds in there once again to touch base onto the original album cover, because I like the birds aspect there. I don't really think that they needed to be in the background or anything in my album cover, but I like to bring in different pieces of the original album cover to kind of touch base to it and everything. So you see me adding the birds here. We're putting it next to the Who and then the Tommy Presents. I was trying to figure out where they look the best there, if I wanted them to be closer to the Tommy Can You Hear Me. Yeah, I was just really messing around with the placement and the layout of this whole piece here. But yeah, so basically that's the album cover. I go back in and start giving it a little bit of gradient here with this blue. I'm just messing with it, so just to tie it all together a little bit. Pretty sure I add a couple hue and saturations there, mess with the brightness and the contrast a little bit to kind of get the levels to where I want them to be. And I wanted the face to be blue, kind of like touching base back to the album cover, the original album cover. And because it adds a little bit more to the eeriness, kind of gets the flesh color out of there, so it makes it just a little bit more weird and a little bit more obscure, in my opinion. I had a couple textures on top of it just to see, you know, how aggressive we can get with the rustic feeling to it, add to the aesthetic to the piece and everything. Here's an actual vinyl texture that I like to use a lot, and it has like the ring and everything. I've used this in multiple different designs I've done so far on this monthly redesign series. It just adds a little subtle effect to make the eye believe that this is actually a real life record that somebody pulled off a shelf. It makes it more authentic, and it adds to the aesthetic of the record itself. This is what I decided to design. It's a really eerie album cover. It fits the vibe to the album to a T, in my personal opinion. And here's the final album cover. As you can see here, we got the guy his face is super distorted and blown up and inflated and everything. I inflated it a couple times here. Looks like he's underwater, and it kind of gives it this eerie effect of him being under the water. We got that vinyl texture overlay on top of the piece. And then we got the Tommy Can You Hear Me? The Who Presents Tommy, real big with the blue drop shadow behind it. And we got the two birds there kind of touching base back to the 60s original album. All in all, this is a great piece in my opinion. It's probably my favorite that I've designed thus far. It's exactly how I envisioned it. It's exactly how I wanted it to come out. This image that I found on Unsplash is extremely eerie, and it's almost like I could see this person being Tommy, the main character of the record. Him drowning almost in his thoughts and his imagination, and with his eyes being so weird, it kind of goes with the whole Deaf, Dumb, and Blind Boy theme of the album and everything. I love that it touches base to the 60s styling, in my opinion. Like I said, with the Who Presents Tommy, that's not really done a lot on record. It was done a little bit back in the day on like jazz records and some early rock and roll records. The Tommy Can You Hear Me kind of has like a Broadway vibe to it and everything. And I thought it just was slightly different than your standard styling of records in today's day and age and back in the day. That's the album cover. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'm really curious of what you guys think. Do you like the original? Do you like my interpretation of the album, if you will? It's really hard to do these legendary records sometimes, but when I was listening to this record and I was just kind of brainstorming ideas, this idea stood out to me, and I just took it and ran with it, and I love how it came out. I love how it came out. It hits everything that I wanted. The aesthetic is right there. It's very dark and dreary. Blue in the guy's face is just, like I said, extremely weird and just off-putting in my opinion. But it's also very smooth feeling, silky feeling, with the way the Tommy Can You Hear Me is a very thin-based font, and then the Who Presents is almost like the typeface used for that is like very squished and 60s looking. It could be a modern record and it could be an old record. That's what's really cool, is that it could go either way in my opinion. Okay, with that being said, I got a surprise for you guys. I did a back cover. I haven't done this yet on this monthly redesign series. I didn't record any of it, but I do have a back cover, and let's get into it. So here's the back cover. I didn't know exactly where I was going with this. I didn't even know I was going to make a back cover until I started moving things around with the record and everything, and I just was kind of messing around and seeing where it took me. Those are usually the best times to design because you get into a flow state and everything, and that's basically what I did. I just took the front cover and just started moving everything around, and then I was like, wow, this would look cool over here. Let me put this face up here, and then, oh, let me put the face down here, and then I started adding the drop shadow to the top face, and I started adding the birds and making them bigger and expanding them, and as you can see, like the birds kind of behind the top face, just kind of scattered the birds out and made it just kind of free flowing, and then added the Who Presents Tommy again because it's kind of touching base to the front cover and everything. And then I added all the track listings and everything. And then once I added the track listings, it just all started piecing together. And then I added a filter gradient over top of it and everything. And then I moved the Deca logo over, and then I was like, holy crap, this looks like a back cover. It looks perfect. It looks absolutely phenomenal. I love it. I love it. I love it. And yeah, so we just took that and we ran with it. I didn't record any of the process, but like I said, when you get into the flow state, you just got to go with it. You just got to let it flow and see where it takes you. Sometimes you come up with greatness and sometimes it's a flop. It's the first time I've done a back cover to my monthly redesign series, and maybe I'm going to start adding that into the whole design aspect. This is the front cover with a vinyl record and an inner sleeve here. So we got the blue vinyl record, as you can see. I wanted it to touch base to the front cover and being blue, and touching base back to the original album cover also. I also added this hype sticker and everything with a price tag just to kind of give it that more authentic look. I was going to add like a plastic wrap filling over top of it, but my records, I love when I design them, I love to give a used aspect to it. I think those like stand out 10 times more than like a clean slated record. I love giving it a rugged look and just a worn textured look to it. I love my records to look worn. Here we go with the back cover. I mocked up the back cover too, so you can see the record being blue. We got with the inner sleeve also being baby blue, and then the back cover next to all those, and it just ties it all together and it looks like a cohesive package. I absolutely love it. It's a great package design, if you will. The front and back cover, they match each other beautifully. Yeah, so that's it. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said, it's one of my favorite designs I've done for the monthly redesign series so far. Comment down below what you want me to redesign. Any albums out there, any iconic albums out there that you think I should redesign, let me know down below. I would love to check them out and maybe put them on the list. We still got a couple more months to go, and we're doing this all the way through until December, so it really means a lot when you comment and voice your opinion. Thank you guys for tuning in, and always be safe and rock and roll. I'll catch you guys in the next one, man. Peace.